Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Patrick Tam, founder and CEO of Bright Balance. Patrick, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Great. Patrick, looking forward to this conversation. So Patrick, when you first started out in finance, what was the moment that made you realize you wanted to go beyond traditional CFO and build something on your own?
Yeah. Yeah. So I started Bright Balance really with the thought that for the first 17 years of my career, I love the work. I love the companies that I was able to help and work for. I felt though, usually at the kind of 3 to 4 year mark, I felt constrained by the organization, constrained by the industry, or constrained by the circumstances that a company would find itself in. And it was hard, really for me to realize my potential. And so really out of just probably that repetition of seeing it again and again, maybe different details, but kind of same thing of being constrained. I started looking into the fractional space and realized, well, hey, I can help many clients all at once, many companies all at once, and for the part I can add value. And then, if that tapers or stops, it's no big deal. We have more work to do. And so that's really how it was born, was really just the desire to help and serve more companies.
Nice. Your background comes from the accounting, Patrick?
Yeah. Yeah. So I studied accounting, got my bachelor's, my master's, a CMA and a CPA. Most of my background was in industry. I was never in public accounting, all in-house in corporate accounting and finance roles.
Yeah. Great. So now Bright Balance has grown to 65 team members and support billions in client revenue. What was the tipping point where you knew this model could scale and not just be a normal business?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people ask me, our growth has been, pretty impressive. How did it happen? And that kind of thing. I didn't set out to start a big firm. And not that we're big, but I didn't really start out to start a firm. Like I said, I just wanted to help clients. But I remember probably about 6 months into going full time into it, which would have been in early 2021, we reached $1 million in revenue, at least run rate. And I remember, reflecting within the team, thinking, "Oh, we have like a real business now. We're doing $1 million." And so, yeah, that's probably the moment I felt like it could be something. But it really kind of started with, how do we help clients? And initially, how do I make sure I have enough to kind of feed my family and support the team? And the small team we had, I think we had about 10 people, and incremental thinking. It was never like a big grand vision. It was more, hey, what's the next step? How do we grow a little bit more? How do we help the next client?
Yeah. And talking about that, you emphasize about ownership of outcomes, not just services. I love companies and leaders who truly are customer fanatical. What does that look like in practice, and how do you instill that mindset in your team?
Yeah. So, there are a lot of accounting firms out there, and now, especially in the fractional space, you'll find a lot of fractional CFO firms, a lot of fractional accounting and finance groups. One thing that kind of makes us different, when I say that we take responsibility for outcomes, and we're very much delivery mindset with our client. It's not just about accounting. And I tell our team, hey, we're more than just accountants. What I mean by that is, especially in kind of the earlier stage companies that we support, and maybe for your audience and for you, it's good to know, we really support kind of two types of clients. Half of our clients are startups. They're 25 million in revenue and under, and then half are middle market. They're PE backed, 1 billion, $2 billion revenue companies. And so, really that half that we support in the startup space, if they, they're going to be dealing with everything from go-to-market strategy, product market fit. How do I grow sales and marketing? And sometimes they don't have it's the CEO and founder who's the salesperson, and or they're the product team, right? And so when we come in a fractional capacity, especially early on, we're thinking not just about the accounting. We're thinking about what needs to happen at the right time. A startup's so much about doing all the right things, but also doing them at the right time. If you implement everything too early, that has its own pain, right? You might have the right idea, but if you do it too early, it really is heavy and expensive and painful. If you wait too long, it also has its own costs. And so a lot of times working with so many startups, we end up being generalists who can help a CEO understand, well, is it the right time to hire a salesperson, or is it the right time, to implement, a certain system that might be needed from an infrastructure standpoint one day, but maybe isn't time yet. So really for us, it's if the outcome we need to achieve is usually more revenue, what do we get there? What's the biggest roadblock? What are really the constraints in the organization? And how do we help unlock those?
Yeah, very well said. It's all about right place, right time, right? And I always like to uh, compare that with Apple computers, right? So Apple is one company that truly does launch companies at the right place and the right time. And I think without the right time, you're definitely not going to be able to be great. And using that right intelligence, the right technologies at the right place, it's so needed. Now, there must be some resistance when companies consider outsourcing critical finance roles. How do you overcome the perception barrier and build confidence with new clients?
Yeah, so we're a trusted advisor, right? So trust begins usually with a referral to us. That's how we get most of our clients. Usually it's through good delivery somewhere, whether it be for a bank, a VC, another client. So it really starts with how do we kind of take that implied trust we get through that referral, build it in our sales process, and then determine if that client's right for outsource work. Post COVID, there's a lot of say friction removed from the outsourcing mindset, especially around back office functions like accounting and finance. And I think more and more business owners, especially early stage, newer startups, have a strategy of outsourcing many functions from the onset. But there's still some mindsets that aren't ready. And so part of it is in our sales process, really understanding, okay, what objectives does the founder have? Where's the organization at? From kind of a maturity standpoint, and then pointing out where we can help. And often, we can help really at every stage of the company from pre-revenue to $1 billion. The difference is in those that are ready to outsource and those that aren't is often a work style, a management style, a mindset of having trust in a third party or of being able to use a third party as if they're part of your team. And there's a lot that goes into kind of the mindset that I could go into more detail about. But that's a lot of I call it propensity to outsource. That's what drives a lot of it.
Yeah, and that's truly the outcome when you are uh, customer fanatical, driven by really go way and beyond solving their needs and be there at the time when they really need you, and make sure that that's the you never let them down, and that trust keeps building over time. That compounds, and all of a sudden now you have this word of mouth that is so powerful.
Yeah. And I would say too, one of the things I try and always instill in our team, and I know that we do in our sales process, is not be self-interested. We really do want the best for the client. So we'll tell them, hey, I think you should hire someone internally for this, or I think you don't even need our help yet. I think here's another resource that might be better. In fact, like there's one client we have right now, been with them for 2 years, and we're in a somewhat limited capacity in helping them. They had a person resign internally. And a lot of times our clients in that case would have us pick up work and we would expand and they would realize maybe they don't need that in-house person. But the CEO asked me, hey, what should we do about this role? And I said, well, I think you need to replace it. We need to find another in-house person, even though obviously it's revenue wise for us would be better to take the work and we could probably do it. I just know the mindset of that founder. I know the culture of the organization. I know the operations team needs someone to go visit them in the office and walk down the hall and talk to them about what's going on. So we told them, hey, hire someone in house, and I helped them with the job description and even help them try and find somebody. So even and we don't get paid. We're not a recruiting firm for that, but that's really goes back to what's in their best interest. If I were in their shoes, what would I do? Kind of knowing what I know. And if we have that you know, mentality, that's really what builds trust. And that's like that's maybe sometimes what's missing from other partners out there is if it's not going to benefit them, they're kind of like lose a little bit of interest. And I feel like for us, it always benefits us if it's good for our client. It just might be, years from now, or it might be through someone that they tell their experience, they tell someone else about their experience.
Yeah. Honesty goes way far more far than anything else, and so being honest with what you can do and where you see the opportunity and how you can truly solve it for the customers, they will truly appreciate that. I remember one time we had a customer, potential customer, and they came in, they were ready to buy with us, and we just told them like, we got nothing for you. And they truly they truly they took it, and they came back at the right time, and we started working with them, and they've been with us for like now good 8 years. So it's really amazing to see how customer, and then they do refer to others, like do refer to other people, like how you treat them well. So Patrick, now when you look at the middle market today, and I assume you're mostly in US, is that right, in America?
Our client
Yeah.
base, we have about 100 clients in the US.
Yeah. What is one blind spot you think most founders and investors and your customers still have about the role finance can play in scaling a company?
Yeah, I think I would relate it to that earlier comment I made about doing more than just accounting, especially in the earlier stage companies where you have limited resources, everyone has limited time, very high opportunity cost. I think the CEO and founder tends, if I kind of generalize a lot of startups out there, they tend to think they need to do most things on their own. They want to problem solve, which is great, but one of their biggest struggles is how and when do I delegate what? How do I get things off my plate? My time's so limited. How do I develop a team around me who I trust, who can execute what we need, who can bridge the gap between sales, ops, and finance? And it is the CEO's job to make sure the roles are in place and functioning. I think finance can take a little bit more responsibility over the, let's say, progress of operations, of sales and marketing, to be a good counterbalance to objectively know what's working and not, to have develop KPIs early and help the CEO manage the organization. And so I'd say, if there's a blind spot, it might be not asking more from the finance function than accounting and financial reporting and all the kind of call it fundamentals. It's not really a middle market thing. It's more of a small business thing.
Mm,
But yeah, I definitely see we could raise the bar in expectations, and then I think for, those in the profession out there who are serving that market, it's a great opportunity to influence and have a bigger result on these companies, and it's kinda up to you to step out of the accounting role or step out of the finance role and really think from a ownership mentality, what needs to change in operations if we're going to reach our goals? What's going to change in sales and marketing if we're going to reach our goals?
yeah, very well said. Patrick, this is a short format conversation. I'd love to carry on with you, but we got to wrap this up. Hopefully, next time we'll do probably a longer conversation. Maybe we go deep dive, and we can probably also bring one of our partners on a call too to make it really fun and go deep on this subject. Patrick, I always like to ask this as the last question to my guests in this podcast, and it is about the word bold. What does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, the word bold, I would say being able to speak for what you believe in and not be apologetic about it and to stand for something. And like you said, honesty earlier, to be honest, even if it's not, self serving or especially if it's not self serving. I think that takes a certain boldness.
Love it. Love it. Honesty, stand for something, don't be apologetic, and always be bold. Patrick, great having you here. I hope you're enjoying the last day of the summer. Until that time, take care, be great, and be bold always. Bye bye.